Hello, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for taking this time out to listen. Today, I come to you with information that hopefully you will be able to use as you embark on a journey that might lead to leadership, management, or supervisory roles as you think about becoming a business owner. There are some crucial things that one must consider as he or she embarks on this journey. The disciples had to follow Jesus Christ. They had to understand where he was coming from when he mentioned various stories, when he talked about his Father, when he gave prophetic words, healings, miracles, signs, and wonders. They had to have understanding. The biggest issue that I see amongst individuals who are trying to do what is right, especially when it comes to leadership, is they lack understanding. And most of all, they also fail when it comes to compassion. They are not the types of individuals who care much about people. They want the monies, but they don't want to show any type of concern for the people. They are often very busy. They don't want to spend time talking or asking questions about people and their issues and concerns because they are fearful of feedback, or they don't want to do any more work than they already have. And these sorts of attitudes toward dealing with people, unfortunately, they show up in settings that you least likely expect. They show up during times when you are sitting back wondering, why is this person acting this way toward these people who they're supposed to be leading, supervising, managing, and so forth. You will see in the scriptures times where people are talking about people. People are instructing people. People are even persecuting people. People are at war with one another. And when you see conflict taking place, you either come up with a solution, you get into battle, you fight the war, you come up with an agenda, a plan, you do something though. But what you don't do if you are a leader is you sit and sit and sit with a question mark over your head trying to figure out something, and still there is no solution. And people come and they ask you questions and they talk to you and they want to see change, and yet you don't deliver. You might deliver a message, you might talk about what the future holds, but at the end of the day, people want you to deliver. They want to see some action. They don't want to see reaction, they want to see action. And there's those that are very reactive. They jump to conclusions. They assume the worst. They name call. They come up with their own hypothesis as to why people are coming to them with information, as opposed to just listening to what is taking place and then coming up with a solution to the problem. You have some leaders that they're all over the place in their mindset. Today they're over in this department. Tomorrow they're over in another department. They are trying to manage all sorts of things, except there's one problem. They can't even manage their own households, much less a role out into the community. And so when you have this sort of thing taking place, the leader over the leader must take necessary action. Jesus took action when he seen that his disciples were not doing the types of things that they were supposed to do. He had to fix situations. He had to manage situations. He had to instruct. He had to train. And some folks, when they see that there is many problems taking place, rather than go back to the drawing board, sit down with the individual, make sure that they have some understanding, instead they're putting them through all sorts of tests, and then eventually they get so frustrated that they push that individual out the door. And sometimes they don't have to say one word, but their mannerisms put so much pressure on the people that they start looking elsewhere. They start coming up out of their comfort zone because people are making them feel uncomfortable in their settings, when they could come up with better plans, better solutions. I say this because some of you all are witnesses for Christ, and if you do not take on a proper leadership role, you are going to turn people away from God. You are going to make people feel like there is nothing to you. You are not giving them anything. All you are doing is causing nothing more than problems for them. And so on to the next minister, on to the next organization, or maybe I'm not interested in anything dealing with religion, faith, you name it, because I'm sick of poor leaders, passive leaders, weak leaders, leaders that stray away off into the unknown, that they cannot use their thinking skills long enough to get some things done. There are critical thinking skills that are required when one is a leader. You have to think beyond what someone is telling you. I've said this in other audio and I'm saying it again. It's not so much the story that you're being given, but what else is taking place. Sometimes people are not going to give you names. And what good is a name anyway if you don't plan on doing anything about the problem? Sometimes people are not going to sit down and break bread with you and act very caring and considerate and kind. But what good is it if you know that the leader doesn't like you much? You've got to figure out some workarounds. What good is it to have a vision, to have a mission, to have a goal, if you have no idea how you're going to get some things done? And let's not even get into all of the evil that takes place with individuals because they don't like the fact that you are a leader, that you have taken on a role that puts you in a position that is better than your peers. So what do peers do when they're jealous? They go and they start feeding people information that's not always accurate. Some information that is accurate, but then they exaggerate a bit because they want to look like they are a friend to whoever they're talking to. When the truth of the matter is that they could care less about who they're talking to. They're just looking to have a leadership role. They're looking to make more money. They're looking for an opportunity. They're looking for a permanent role. And this happens all too often with temps. And I can speak to this because I've been one for many, many years. There are many people who backbite because they want the coveted position, the permanent position. And so they will do just about anything to make sure that the competition is gone. People aren't just being friendly with managers and supervisors and leaders for nothing. They have agendas. And some of those agendas have all sorts of dysfunction attached to them. Some of these people, unfortunately, have some mental issues, some personality disorders. And if you are not savvy when it comes to that sort of thing, then you find yourself entertaining someone who has a lot going on inside their mind, inside their spirit. A person that might be very smart when it comes to making sure that work gets done, but very poor when it comes to dealing with people. Jealousy runs rampant in organizations, and if you are a leader, you have to recognize when jealousy shows up amongst those that work for you, that volunteer for you, that intern for you. And if you throw a bone out there, one role, one title, one position, and there's 50 plus people, then expect problems, expect divisiveness, expect people stomping all over one another to get to whatever it is that you have thrown out there for them. And some folks enjoy that sort of thing. They're entertained by it, and they should step down. Because if one claims to be a leader, part of being a leader is unifying people. Part of being a leader is making sure that you have some type of moral compass that you're dealing with. when you're dealing with people. When I say moral compass, I'm talking about doing what's right. And how do you know what is right? Well, you need to look at the rules. You need to take note of policies and procedures. And if you are one of faith, you know you go to the Word of God. When you are organizing movements and protests, and when you are trying to get some things done, the Word of God is powerful. And it doesn't hurt to go into the scriptures and come up with some type of plan to get some people to unify, to get some people to be kind to one another, patient. And patience is something that a lot of people are short of, especially in leadership positions. And it's sad because you're doing a disservice when you're impatient with folks. When they are making constant mistakes, you need to question, why are they making constant mistakes? You need to come up with alternative plans. You need to sit down and have a conversation, because you might find out that there are some things that's going on behind the scenes if once they were up and now they are slowly or rapidly falling down. She was once a good worker, but something is happening that's bringing her down. He was once at the top of his game, but now his game is no more. What is happening? And if you truly care about people, you're going to dig and you're going to find out. Because if one is walking out the door, it won't be long before 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 more is walking out the door. I'm hearing in the spirit that some people need to revamp their organizations. I'm hearing in the spirit that some people need to rebrand. I'm hearing in the spirit that some people need to come up with better plans. I'm hearing in the spirit that some people need to get feedback from the folks that they lead, without being critical, without thinking that somebody has an agenda to bring you down or take your position. Even if they do, so what? Because you can be able to rally up enough support around you that that person will eventually get tired of messing with you and they will move on. And if you are one who is a child of God, you can pray that person away. That troublemaker, that Judas. So please do consider what I've said. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to wisdom. You are listening to YouTube channel NM Enterprise 7. Please do check the description box for anything related to your situation. And to God be the glory.